What's going on, guys? Welcome to the 7th, 8th, 9th episode of the 9Trick podcast with special guests here, Leon and Connor. Connor is in the background. He's not really part of the podcast. Fuck
No,
you, Connor.
he's just chilling back there,
He's
dude.
just chilling.
He's vibing.
He's vibing. Today we have a very special guest. One of my better friends that I made, at least in 2020. I don't know if I'll keep him around. He's kind of toxic. Leonhome1500. How you doing today, pal?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing all right. For those of you guys that don't know, obviously his background is quite interesting. He lives in the dorms that I used to live in, so you guys probably recognize that sort of dorm room layout, at least a little bit. Thankfully, I got out of there, but I'm part of the problem. We'll talk about that later.
Major
but
problem.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing all right. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the initial question. I think we're changing it around this podcast. With the initial question of being, why did you change your name, or why is your online alias Leon, or Leonhome1500? Your real name is what, like Aiden, right?
Yeah.
That's his real name. Why
Easy.
Leon?
So originally, whenever I picked that name, it was actually inspired from my dad. My dad used to play a lot of PS2 games, and his save cartridges, he would name them Leon, which is our last name, and then Home for his main ones and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers I added on eventually afterwards because I had made 2 accounts for my original Xbox gamer tag, and you couldn't have the same gamer tag. So I had accounts I couldn't access, and then I just had to make another one, and I just chose some random numbers from one of the street addresses I used to live on.
Leonhome1500. Go dox some guys. Look up Home 1500.
Easy, baby.
That's cool. A lot of people don't have like a set story of why their name is that name. Like for me, I don't know why the fuck I'm named Tricky Vic. Maybe someone said it and it stuck around for some reason. But some people just straight up just don't even know what their name is. So I'm glad you actually have one. And that leads us on to obviously your PS2 playing games and a little bit more of a bolder question. What is your favorite video game of all time? Don't say Rainbow Six Siege.
Hell no, that's a shit game. What are you talking? That's a terrible excuse. Honestly, I think one that I got the most enjoyment out of as a child was a lot of the old fighting games. So Mortal Kombat, Armageddon, Bloody Roar, stuff like that. Just, I mean, you're young. You don't really know what's going on in the games. You don't really have to be competitive. You just enjoy the characters that you're playing as, and you enjoy making your own story whenever you're going through it. But I don't think I really have a favorite game, so to speak, as of right now. I mean, there's games that I'll just jump in and out. I think you've been playing a lot of Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's a pretty alright game, but I think just a lot of the games that I did enjoy just have certain memories connected to them. Not generally because they were fun or really intuitive games, but just because of the times that I had with them.
Yeah, and just a little backstory on how I know Leon. Leon is obviously on the NMSU Rainbow Six team with me. He's probably one of the best players that I've ever played along, not to gas up his already insanely large ego. So yeah, it's kind of it's funny that you mentioned like fighting games, because usually those games are really likened to like mechanically challenging games, especially like the more modern, like Mortal Kombat. You have to like have a third fucking finger or third hand in order to play those fucking games. So it's kind of interesting seeing that even like arguably those games were a little bit more like primitive to what we have now when it comes to fighting games. But it's cool to see that you have some sort of fighting game, at least knowledge. So you don't have a favorite game? What about a favorite genre of games?
Ooh, probably just shooters in general. I mean, aim's transferable, so I can enjoy basically any other shooter out there and be mildly adequate at it until I start playing it more.
Definitely.
Because I Battlefront, for instance, I downloaded it today and I've been playing with friends and literally all day. I haven't been the best, but I haven't been the worst. I think I've gotten fifth like every single game, like on the final scoreboard, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
Go ahead.
I think most games that I enjoy as far as it goes now are just stuff that I'm good at or inherently good at. Because I mean, you can always get better as you progress through a game, but for me, I don't get a whole lot of enjoyment if I'm just going to be dog shit the entire time while I'm learning.
Yeah, I know Star Wars Battlefront obviously is like super, when it comes to the shooting mechanics and like the actual shooter part of the game, it's very primitive. Third person point of view, we're all used to from like GTA 5 or some shit. Same thing with the first person point of view, is literally like Call of Duty. Nothing too crazy there. But like I know you play a lot of Smite, And I've played Smite before, and I feel like I have that exact same feeling when I'm playing fucking Smite. It's like reading Chinese, which I don't know how to do. There's just too many game mechanics and too many characters. That's why I don't play League of Legends and stuff like that. So,
I, I,
um,
I think Smite's a bit easier of a MOBA as far as it goes. I mean, at least you have some transferable aim, and you
mm,
just be an ADC, just sit in the dual lane,
yeah,
sit in the tower.
I don't even know what that is, but definitely, I sympathize with a lot of the games that I like to play. I don't want to be shit at them. Obviously, I played shooters all my life, or at least for the majority of my life. I've tried venturing out to other kind of like third-person fighting games, kind of. So like one game I've been playing a lot is like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And that's games like into like Dark Souls and like Bloodborne. Those games are completely different, way harder games. But it's kind of like the fighting, like shield and sword type of fighting game.
It's got the Souls like feel.
Yeah, the Souls like feel like there's bosses that you kind of have to like dodge around and stuff like that. So, different game. I'm struggling because I'm playing like 10 feet away with a Xbox 360 non-wired controller on a fucking 50-inch TV. So I'm not really taking it too seriously. I'm just kind of playing it for fun. But I definitely know what you mean by that. And you touched on your PS2, or at least your dad's PS2. Let's talk about your past in gaming. Obviously, you're pretty much almost the same age as me. So, you kind of grew up with I guess, the coming generations of consoles. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, starting off when I was super young, played a lot of PS2 games, a lot of racing games, a lot of fighting games. I didn't really get into first-person shooters for a while. I think the first-person shooter I ever played would either be Halo 1 on the original Xbox. Let's see, some Army Men game. God, I think it would be close related to like the first Call of Duty and stuff like that. Because I remember
Medal of
throughout
Honor,
the,
maybe?
no, because it was cartoonish. It
Mm-hmm.
literally like the characters were like toy soldiers. It was something that was like to take a piss out of fighting, or not fighting games, shooting games in general, since this was around the same time that Call of Duty
Mm-hmm.
was sprouting up, Battlefield and stuff like that. But I never really got too into shooting games. I think the first shooting, or at least first person shooter that I really wanted to get good at was probably around the Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2 era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Around the
that's what
same
a lot
time
of
that
people.
my dad got a PS3. I remember every weekend, Saturday mornings, I'd get up and run in their room 7 in the morning and just like, hey, can I get on the PS3? Can I play before you guys get out of bed? And they're like, yeah, sure. And remember, I'd just go play through the campaign over and over, different difficulties. I didn't even get into online playing really that much.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime I'd have friends over, we'd always just split screen, go
Campaign
at
or
it
some
on
shit.
Rust. Yeah. But I didn't. Whenever I transferred to actual competitive shooters, it was around the same time. I want to say it was a fifth grade. I made a bet with my parents to if I got straight A's, they'd buy me a gaming computer. Well, their emphasis on gaming was, oh yeah, we'll just buy you a computer. So they got me a Toshiba Satellite, had a 4-core i5, some Intel shit
Mm-hmm.
graphics card, and I remember playing CS:GO and being absolute dog shit, just being in. I think on that laptop I got to like silver 4, and I'd enjoy it. I enjoyed carrying people in silver, but I was never really the best. And then I transitioned into Face It eventually in CS:GO and trying to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as I got older. With my first desktop had a was it AMD FX 6350 and a 550 Ti, so not much of a
Mm-hmm.
step up from the
Not
laptop, but it still
much.
gave me a platform, and I got a little bit better, Gold Nova stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
moving up, and then as I got my second desktop, that's when I really saw that, hey, if you have a better performing computer, kind of equates to your skills getting a bit better, since
Mm-hmm.
not only your reaction times are honed in, but the reaction of your computer is getting a lot better. So um,
Yeah,
yeah, and then
definitely.
especially now since we're both Siege players, I didn't play Siege. I got the game way back in like Operation Health, and then
Mm-hmm.
played it a little bit, jumped in and out, Chimera stuff like that, and I didn't truly start trying until like beginning of Ember Rise. I didn't because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't enjoy the aspects of some of the issues with Siege, but as a Siege player,
Don't
you
we
kind of
all?
learn that yeah, hit reg is dog shit. You're gonna get killed by people you don't see. It happens, but
Mm-hmm.
getting to the point where you can be good enough to compete and especially play versus better players, and that's where most of my enjoyment comes out of playing games.
Definitely. Yeah, I kind of follow you along those lines too, where the computer you have definitely like equates to your better skill. I know there is definitely like a plateau depending on how long you've been playing the game and on the computer, of course. Um, but yeah,
Sure.
that just comes down to like the mechanical talent that you have. And yeah, did you ever take on content? Because you're actually one of the first people on this podcast that doesn't really make content primarily. Everybody I've had is either a YouTuber or a streamer. I know you do stream, or you do have a Twitch channel. I know you used to stream. And I don't know if you ever made YouTube videos, did you?
Whenever I was younger, I got my iPod Touch, my fourth gen, and we'd record videos of us like playing zombies and stuff like that, and posted my cousin's account. But that would be the closest thing that I think I'd have for creating content. I've jumped in and out of a lot of streamers' lives, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, a shout out to STX Angler. I used to play a lot of Escape from Tarkov during its late alpha, early beta. Enjoyed that a lot. Kind of faded out of it. I mean, stuff like that. I never really wanted to create content though.
Mm-hmm.
I was always up for like, oh, let's play games. Oh, if you're gonna record, sure, why not? But I never personally wanted to, mostly because I felt like it was too much of a responsibility. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I still collect clips and I still have them. Like, hey, if there's something I want to do, I think I have probably a terabyte worth of videos and random shit that I just have saved. That hey, this could make a cool clip. This make a cool video, or just
Mm-hmm.
to look back and reminisce. But that's about it.
Yeah, I feel you in that sense where I used to, before I wanted to do YouTube and any of that shit, I would like record every single game. Like I remember the game I would be playing a lot was like Black Ops 3. I would record every single day with my fucking Elgato, every single game, and to the point where I had like 50 plus videos that were like 10 minutes long, and maybe I made a mental note somewhere, like maybe I had a 3-piece there, but like it's too much work to go back. All the editors and all like the pro YouTubers that can do that shit, especially if they like make YouTube videos and process their YouTube videos, upload it, and then make like a year-end review of those YouTube videos, that's fucking insane. I tried doing that last year or a couple years ago. Insane. I cannot do that. You literally have to have too much time on your hands to do that shit. So I
Yeah,
feel for you there in that sense.
yeah. I mean, like, for me, I have a friend who I always play with, especially like Smite and other games. Whenever I'm not, practicing Siege
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And he has a just pretty small channel, but we post a lot of clips and stuff. We just go through, um, funny moments, just random shit that we've done, and it kind of sucks because I've known him for about 3 years now, and he's been posting videos over that time, but he went through a bad spout and deleted like
Mm-hmm.
everything. So he's slowly making all of his videos back up, and I think actually got a couple thousand views from some tutorials that he was posting about Cyberpunk, and it was a
Nice.
broken game on modding and stuff. But yeah, sometimes.
That's dope. And that's awesome. And obviously, I know your family and as well as your friends are a really big part of your gaming career and gaming in general. I know you grew up in Alamogordo, not to dox you or anything, which is
Okay.
kind of like a smaller town compared to like El Paso. I've talked about it a lot here on the YouTube channel. And El Paso compared to like, a big city like New York or LA is like literally like a neighborhood, literally the
Yeah.
most smallest thing. But we have like some regular commodities you'd find like in a Los Angeles suburb. We got like a Whole Foods, one of them, not like 8 of them. We got a
Yeah.
couple Best Buys, couple Targets. We only have one Super
And
Target.
three
Nothing too
best friends.
crazy. And I know Alamogordo is like completely a slip down. There's literally like 5 streets in that entire
Okay,
fucking street.
there's 5 main streets. Okay,
Yeah.
like you gotta give it a little credit.
Do you guys even
But
have like a Best Buy or a Target?
no. Let's see, we've got we used to have Kmart that closed. We
Mm-hmm.
have Walmart. We have a neighborhood Walmart. Um, Walgreens. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, kind of some
Nothing
shitty
too
stores. They have
crazy.
our hall,
Mm-hmm.
which are just the mall, but so many businesses are closing it, so it's kind of just food court's nice in there. You have like Melrose and
Mm-hmm.
Ross in there, so not
Yeah.
bad.
And that was kind of like leading up to my next question. I know you've been into PC gaming way longer than I have. I know your dad transitioned you early to PC gaming, it's like at the middle of the Xbox 360's kind of lifespan. How were you able to like build like your computer like in general, like all your information that you know about computers and stuff like that in a place
Uh,
where it was very difficult unless you were shipping everything to yourself?
So as far as it goes for building computers and especially learning about them, my dad originally didn't get me into it. It was surprisingly just watching YouTube and watching other creators play on computers and realizing how the extensiveness that you can, or
Mm-hmm.
not extensiveness, but the just everything you can do on a computer was so much more than a console. I really enjoyed that. But for as far as my background knowledge, that came from. I mean, it was a small town, so I
Mm-hmm.
we knew a lot of people. So that just I just got a job in a computer store, repairing computers, learning
Mm-hmm.
about them, making fixes and stuff like that, and eventually just asking him like, "Oh, hey, what should I look for in a computer? What should I do?" I remember the owner at the time would go through and build a computer like monthly, just piece it together full of a lot of top tier parts and just sell
Mm-hmm.
them as a just a one time deal and kind of put it on a sale so that way you didn't have to really commission to build a computer where we would charge the markup for finding the parts that you needed and then shipping them all to us and then stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as it went, a lot of my old computers, either hand me downs or just scraps that I could piece together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then eventually my fourth or fifth iteration of my desktops is where I finally actually just started ordering my parts piece by piece and then just putting them together.
Yeah, because I know, obviously, I built a brand new computer. You guys have seen that here on the channel. And I remember when I put those motherfucking specs in that Discord, I
I
seen
got this.
fucking Leon's eyes go red. He's like, why the fuck did you not do this when you should have done that? You could have done
Yeah,
this. You could have spent money
there was
here.
a lot of.
Yeah,
I think that
I
comes
cut a
from.
lot of corners and spent way too much money. That is definitely a fact, especially
I
when you
mean,
could have, when I could have gone about it a way better. Um,
yeah. I mean, the fact that you didn't have a graphics card for a while,
I
that.
still don't have a graphics card, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, that has some issues to it. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
God, how much did you spend for the build? Do you remember without the
It
GPU?
was 1400.
She like not to be that guy, but my computer that I'm using now,
Mm-hmm.
I spent 1,400 total.
Yeah, that's not mine. Doesn't even have a GPU, which is like if I were to buy one by itself right now, it'd be $800. So total would be
Oh,
like
yeah.
$2,200 computer.
Yeah,
But
bro.
I'm waiting a
Eh,
little bit. I'm waiting a little bit. I don't want to
Hey,
give
just
into the problem just yet. I was about
snag
to.
U6 1080 Ti. Just snag U6 1080
I
Ti.
might
He'll
have
probably
to.
sell it to you at a cheap price. $500, easy.
Psych. Fuck that
Hey,
shit.
hey, it's an 11 gig card. Not bad.
It's not bad. It's bigger upgrade from this one definitely. And so yeah, moving on to our next is obviously you said you lived in a smaller town, able to get a job in a computer store, which is super cool. Um, Alamogordo, I don't even know how many high schools are in that fucking city or like town.
But
There's only
you can
one,
count it too, but it's one.
two, one. So
It's
yeah.
there. There's the alt, which is the same thing as the main high school. It's
Mm-hmm.
just for the shitty kids who are dropping
Yeah,
out and just failed, and then you have the main high school. That's about it.
yeah.
And I mean, there's
Compared.
a few like academies and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
they all lead you back to the high school.
Yeah. Compared to obviously here in El Paso, there's like 11, maybe 12. I'm
Can you
not even
name
gonna
all
count.
of them?
I don't even want to. But I know social life when it comes to smaller cities is a little bit easier to maintain when it comes to, knowing people and stuff like that, especially since you worked at, I'm guessing one of the more renowned computer stores in that town. How was it kind of balancing like your extensive knowledge about computer, big brain, and having a social life? Because I know you're a band kid, obviously automatic social life.
Nah, that's lack of social life. I don't know what you're talking about, but no. I mean, as far as it goes, a lot of my friends, I think I have Connor for one. He was one of the friends I made in band.
Mm.
It wasn't necessarily hard to balance social life. I'd always get out, we do stuff, but I think in a small town, it is really easy to just meet people because I mean, like I said last time, and everyone knows everyone. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't do shit in that town without somebody hearing about it who knows somebody who knows somebody. I
Mm-hmm.
remember in middle school, I had this one kid who hated me, absolutely fucking hated me, and he was always an asshole to me. And turned out my uncle married into his family, and so my step cousin at the time, who was a grade above the guy that was an asshole to me, who I was now not necessarily related to, but had to deal with as family, told him, "Hey, just fuck off, dude. Like, he's your cousin now." And he's like, "Oh shit." So, I mean, it helps to know people sometimes, but but as far as like getting out and doing stuff, I had a bunch of friends who weren't in band. a lot of them kind of drift in and out. Especially, I mean, they try to go off and do their own things, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people just want to get out of the small town. They don't want to
Yeah.
be there the rest of their lives, and that sometimes means cutting ties. But you know,
You gotta do what you gotta do. I know a
is
lot
what
of
it is.
people try to leave El Paso. I try to fucking leave El Paso, go to New Mexico. Granted, it's not that far, but when they think about like relatively smaller cities, they're like, I want to get out of here. It's like you don't really have like much of a reason to. I could understand why people might want to leave Alamogordo, especially if you don't have a fucking target. You gotta
Hey
have a
man,
target. That's all I'm saying. No shade. But yeah, when it comes to competing, obviously, was Rainbow your first game that you ever tried to take serious, or was there others? I know Counter Strike. You said Face It, right?
yeah, let's see. I think as far as it goes, the only time that I actually tried going competitive would just be Counter Strike, and I mean, um, even then it wasn't to the point where I was really any good. I started to get better. I'd feel mid rank, so probably about the same where I would be right now in plat with Siege, but I don't know. I kind of lost drive after a while, especially with the rampancy of cheaters in
Mm-hmm.
Counter Strike, and that's why I turned to Face It originally because I mean you couldn't play like more than 5 games without running into a cheater at least one time, and that those numbers are insanely high. And I know a lot of people complain about Siege's anti-cheat system
Mm-hmm.
always running around cheaters, but like literally you couldn't get into a game. I feel like now, at least as far as now goes, prime matchmaking,
Mm-hmm.
you could get into a game now and not run into a cheater for maybe 10, but back in the day, like not sound
Mm-hmm.
old, but you just every single game closet cheaters, a bunch of accusations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I feel like that sometimes does aid because I mean, as far as my knowledge goes, you look up cheats, you look up what cheaters are using and stuff like that. You'd learn about what they're using, how they work, and see if there's any ways to get around them. Because I remember there were some cheats that you could just break them
Mm-hmm.
easily, especially if you're reversing them. I mean, they have fake lag, jitter bots, spin bots that are now super easily detectable, but it's only because the influx of cheaters that were using them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But after that, I think the only game because I kind of took a break from trying to compete competitively until like I said, Siege came along and I met my first team just because I was tired of a lack of communication whenever it came to other teammates. Believe it or not, I played with people who are more toxic than me. That hence why I'm so
What?
such an
Who?
asshole. I know.
Hard
And
to
actually,
believe.
surprisingly, I was so used to it at the time. One of the people that I had met was just like, "Yeah, why do you play with them? They're assholes to you. Like you do so much for them, and they just don't do anything." And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have anyone else to. So he brought me into a different server with some team members of his, and where I kind of hit it off from there.
Mm-hmm. And that was for Rainbow, right? Or was it for
Yeah.
Counter Strike?
As for Rainbow, just before Ember Rise was whenever I got back into it. What was that? Grim Sky.
Grim Sky. That was last year, early last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, Grim Sky was one of those. I think Grim Sky was one of the first seasons I really started taking Rainbow serious because I started in. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't
I
remember what
got
fucking. He's gonna pull up the stats. I started PC. I can't remember. I think it was Grim Sky or Ember Rise 2, but I was pretty dog shit. I was like bronze. I have all the charms. I have a bronze. I have a silver.
yeah.
I
You
don't think
got
I
you.
have copper.
Looks like you played once in Parabellum just to get ranked, and then
Yeah.
after that, Wind Bastion's where you picked up, and then
Mm-hmm.
continuing on.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it was funny because I think Wind Bastion, I was pretty big into console Rainbow. I don't know why,
mm,
but it was like I was streaming on Mixer and everything. Everybody was coming to my stream for the Rainbow content. So I was just streaming or playing a bunch of Rainbow, but I would actually play on PC with a fucking controller as warm up for ranked on console.
gross.
It was absolutely horrible. I would literally be throwing like all my friends have switched to PC like years before me, or at least 2 years before me. From console, they switched to PC, and they would be like, "Dude, you're actually fucking throwing. I don't want to play with you." So I was like, "All right, fine, fuck you." And
Yeah.
then it wasn't until like this year 5, I think even year 4, I don't know. One of those years, I quit console. I knew I was really gonna get anywhere. I got to like, I was around. I was never like diamond or champion. A lot of these motherfuckers be like, "Yeah, I was diamond on PS4 before I came." I was like, "You probably weren't fucking diamond, saucy."
Hey, that's
Um,
crazy, bro.
So I plateaued around like plat 3, plat 2. I got plat 1 a couple times, but not anything crazy. And then I started playing more throughout 2020 and obviously 2021, late 2019. I had a couple friends that would carry me. Obviously, you'll like to say that I'm not a real plat 2 on PC. I never was, but I think I was pretty good. But we just had a
I
good team. That's all
I
I'm gonna say.
didn't say you never were. I just said that you got carried to it,
Maybe
and
a little
your
bit.
response is always just, "Hey man, it's a team game,"
It's a team
and
game,
you're
man.
right.
It's a team
A lot
game.
of it, a lot of it does require on your team, as I've realized and come to at least appreciate as a good support on my team. Because as a fragger, you can do a lot.
Yeah,
As a fragger, you can go and flick heads, just look at Bolo, but without a good team, you basically have nothing.
definitely. Yeah, ranked is not even fun if you don't have someone playing Thatcher. So, but yeah, so you chose Rainbow Six because you had somewhat of a welcoming community to it. Is that the F7 and F8 boys?
I mean, as far as it goes, whenever I played with them, that wasn't the original teams, but yeah, that
Mm,
that would be who it was. Um, I mean, I was still younger then, so I didn't really understand a lot of what it really took to compete
yeah.
mentally as well as in the game. So I was just going in. I was basically your brain dead Ash Jaeger main, except I'd never played Ash or Jaeger.
Mm-hmm.
A funny story for that is whenever I started picking up Ash was actually whenever she was announced to remove her ACOG, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of want to start using the G36C. So that's when I originally picked her up and
Mm-hmm.
started playing her a lot more. But I never enjoyed using any ACOGs on any guns that I had. I never understood the point of it. I think around
Mm-hmm.
Grimsky, I played a lot of Maverick with ACOG, and I mean,
Kind of weird.
terrible at it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That gun now, even now, like I'm glad it actually has a 1.5 compared to the 2.5 ACOG scope because that shit that still is bouncing all over the fucking place.
Oh yeah.
It's not bad, but it could be better. But yeah, I
Hey
definitely
man.
I feel for you there when it comes to like the Ash ACOG. I was like, this shit's annoying on console. It must have been annoying on PC. I'm glad it's out, and that's when I really was like, hey, maybe this game is actually looking at what's going on. I was completely wrong.
Yeah. I think the
Jaeger
devs care
nerfs.
about us.
Jaeger nerfs. I do not agree with. I agree he needed to be nerfed, but not the way that he was.
I mean, his
Uh,
pick rate is still insane.
yeah.
He's still just such a good versatile op. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as it goes, I just kind of switched off from using as much Jaeger.
Yeah.
Trying
If
to
it's not
trying to
needed
pick
or
up new
something.
ops.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially as a roamer. I mean, Jaeger's such a already because his gadget utility just set and forget.
Mm-hmm.
Super useful for that. Not only does he have like one of the few ARs on the defender side, but God, they can't find a good place for him at this point, especially
Yeah.
with these patch notes and seeing his pick rate to win delta is still insane.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just because I mean they introduced him in the game as a strong op. He's gonna stay a strong op until they actually put him in the ground, and when that day happens, it'll be sad. But people reminisce on
Good
the old
days.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SMG 11 ACOG. Shout out. But yeah, I feel like the one thing Rainbow didn't look forward to, and even though they said they would be like, oh, we're gonna have 100 ops before we end production on this game or whatever it is, and that's all fine and dandy. But when you have to change shit around with like your default operators to synergize with the new ones that come out, you have to realize that, oh fuck, we kind of messed up here. So like a big example is Thatcher. His entire gadget is an EMP grenade that can disable electronics. Figuratively speaking, or actually literally speaking, on every other game when it comes to Call of Duty, I don't know about Battlefield or Medal of Honor, the EMP grenade is actually a secondary gadget. It's likened to like a grenade or a flashbang, and I think making entire characters a secondary gadget, it kind of fucked them in the ass. Same thing with a trophy system or active defense system that Jaeger has. Usually that's a secondary gadget in every other shooter. But it's his primary gadget. So it's very interesting when it comes to when they start adding, different throwables like grenades, flashes, smokes. Obviously those are kind of default, but when
Air jabs. And
yeah,
stuff
when
like
you
that.
add air jabs, when you add all these things that change the game so significantly, it kind of fucks you in the ass when you think about it like that.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, changing the meta for anything, especially in some games, you'll have growing pains. But
mhm.
I think a lot of what they're trying to do, especially now, you'll hear a lot of complaints that they're only making changes to aid in pro play, which I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you want to go for. They're your
Mhm.
highest profile players, and you have to make them happy to make the people happy, or else they complain to the people, and then everyone just listens to them.
Yeah.
Well, as a Zothia man, I don't agree with removing withstand. Growing pains, they added it in as a hey, this might be a cool thing to make people stop playing Ash,
Yeah.
and it probably will come back to bite them in the ass if they actually listen to the majority of
Mhm.
player, well, majority. I guess you could probably look at it as like a 40-40 with
Mhm.
40% of the people hating the withstand and 40% of the players absolutely loving it because it is just a one-time fluke that can
Yeah.
enable her to pop off after getting up from withstand. And if I remember correctly, they had originally nerfed it
Mhm.
from its original from like
Yeah.
you
It
get
was
up
like
with 20.
20 HP or some shit.
Yeah, now it's down to 5. So I
Mhm.
mean, they do realize that whenever it is used, it is very useful. But I mean, for me, out of my say
Mhm.
100 hours played on Zoff, I've probably used a handful of times to the point where it actually was useful. I
Mhm.
mean, most of the time you just get back up and then you're automatically
Dead
killed.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
You fucking sneezed on. Yeah, when it comes to the Zoff changes, I understand why they took it away for pro play, and I know that's the big conversation, because pro play, for all the people that don't notice, when it comes to like pro league HUDs and stuff like that, usually in the main game, when you kill someone, you get a bunch of points, and it tells you exactly what you're doing, compared to pro play where it doesn't. It actually just kind of pops off, like you don't see anything on the right side of your screen. Like in a casual match, you kill someone, you see the 100 pen points. If you down someone, you see the 50 points. And pros they don't tell you if you're gonna get you're downing someone. You have to confirm your kills, either audibly, or absolutely get the kill. It pops up in the feed and stuff like that. So I feel like the withstand mechanic was kind of a hindrance when it comes to that stuff, and especially because it's like based around lore. It was kind of a big talking point, especially I know Intero always complains about this shit. Don't add things just because they're from lore, like the withstand, or Aruni's punching mechanic. I honestly think they should take away Aruni's punching mechanic too, and give it to an operator where that it more suits fit, like Oryx. That's literally Oryx's whole thing, is being strongman. You can bust through walls. He should be able to punch them too.
Hey, but does he have a metal arm? I don't think so. He just
Yeah.
has the ability to run through walls.
Yeah, I think I don't think they'll touch Aruni just because of how potent like her ability is to her literal character. Um, but putting in a fucking shotgun on that bitch might be able to fix that. But then again, it's just becomes super OP with all of her weapons that she already has. So I don't know how they're gonna fix Aruni, but I am part of that percentage that I don't really think Zofia really needed a withstand. Because like you said, the ratio in which it's actually used and effectively is so small. And literally, we saw one pro league clip with it, and it was gone. I think that was a little bit excessive, but
Yeah, they could have taken it a little
differently.
lighter. I mean, it it's understandable why
Mm-hmm.
they didn't, especially for the clip. I mean, it was a, what was it, 6-1 was it Rogue versus like Eminem or
G2.
something, and
No,
I
it
thought it
wasn't
was
G2. It was
no,
MK versus.
yeah, it was Eminem. Rogue versus Eminem, and Rogue was at 6 points, and it was to 1 with Eminem, and the player, I think, let's see, yeah, it was Usus. He was playing this
Uses.
off. He got down while playing on the vertical and was able to have enough time to get back up. And I mean, there were some times where the Rogue players could have actually killed it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Malusi who was spraying under the floor. I mean,
Yeah, it
you
was
knew
on
where you were
consulate
down there at.
in
Yeah,
a circle room, which is like a completely wall bangable floor.
yeah.
So.
So I mean, it was at this point I'm just viewing it as it's the player's fault for not being able to take care of her,
Mm-hmm.
especially in that situation because it takes a while to get up from withstand. You can hear her, you know audibly where she's going to be at, and especially with shoot holes on the floor, you should have been able to kill her. So the fact
Yeah.
that people are getting upset over that, because as far as it goes for me, I feel like Zoff shouldn't necessarily have the withstand taken away, especially like with
Mm-hmm.
the other Bossack sister, Ella.
She
There's no
doesn't have it.
reason like no, well, she had the her concussion taken
Oh
away
yeah,
whenever
yeah,
she's down. So stuff like that, I mean, it's not a major impact in the game,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
which I mean a lot of people can use for the argument of, hey, this needs to be removed versus, hey, it's not a major impact in the game, so why does it matter? in the few cases that it is worth it, it's the enemy player's fault for not taking care of the down person.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Definitely. Yeah, I can see definitely your point of view there, and I definitely agree with you when it comes to like uh, the skill part of that entire conversation. So, um, I guess we'll agree to disagree here. Moving on to one of our final topics here is Rainbow Six and NMSU. Obviously, you are a freshman, technically second semester with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we both signed up for the team, signed up for tryouts. I believe you played spring or during the summer, correct? You had a
No,
head
I
start.
played. No, I had been in the
Discord.
Discord for that time, and I jumped in with Usyk and Saucy whenever they
Mm-hmm.
were in there, just to kind of get a feel. But I didn't really play with them a whole lot. I think I played like maybe a handful of games with them,
Mm-hmm.
5.
Yeah. And then tryouts come around around September because the season didn't start till like October. You shit on everybody. I like to think that I shit on everybody too, but I was
Man, I don't.
winning as long as you weren't on the enemy team. I'm just gonna say
Hey,
that.
I played one game, and that one game we got
You played
versus.
well.
Yeah,
I remember that. You
that's the
played
only
well.
reason I got in.
And yeah, we've obviously played a couple. We've played obviously in one league, the CEA Opens for Fall 2020. It
Yeah.
went pretty good initially, and we kind of shot the bed at the end. And I think that's just because we lost our dynamic, especially with the Hypnos popping off the team. Rest in peace, Hypnos. He's not dead, but we don't know where he is. And so
Just say
yeah.
he's dead to us.
We were trying to find ourselves as a team. I think we're hopefully on the right track. I know this Face It League that we have is a pretty big Face It League. I think it's 30K to whoever wins. I think it's like triple elimination or some crazy shit because we've lost 2 games, but we're still in the tournament somehow. I don't know if it's a league or a tournament. I think Saucy said it was a tournament.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. We were down in the loser bracket or something like that. But we were still trying to figure out. We lost another player, Saucy, for you guys that might know from the second episode of the podcast. Saucy stepped down from the team. He just wasn't having fun playing the game, and we were taking it into a different direction when it comes to like the leadership and the play style. And he just obviously didn't like it. That's fine on him. No hard feelings against him at all. We tried our best. So we had to pick up some new teammates. And Aang, shout out Aang if you're watching, as well as Joey and Goop. They were on the academy team for the Rainbow Six because surprisingly, we actually had a lot of people try out for the NMSU team when it came to at least the fall. So much so that we had 2 rosters in the league that we were playing. Obviously, the varsity performed way better than the academy. The academy team was pretty much a bunch of players, not to shit talk them at all. I mean, no disrespect, but it was the players that were. They were good at the game. They were somewhat competent, but they were
They had
lacking.
an understanding.
Yeah, they had an understanding of the game. They didn't really have a competitive understanding for the game compared to the varsity players. No shade on them. The game is not easy to learn, especially on PC, especially competitively. But we're glad that the 2 that stuck around from that team, and Joey and Goop, are here and joined us on the varsity team as some substitutes. We're here to obviously develop them as players and hopefully if our roster is complete here on the varsity, we can dish them down to academy and they can just develop their players because we want to have a large amount of players playing for NMSU. That's just better for us in general. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Hopefully we can take CEA spring when it starts to open up for that. I mean, we're only gonna win like $1,300 and some keyboards, but something's better than nothing. But yeah, how do you like playing on the team? For those of you guys that don't know, he is our fragger / entry / roaming role. He literally gets all the fucking kills all the fucking time. That's all I know. How have you liked it in somewhat of a collegiate / D1 esports team?
I think it's definitely a change of mindset. I think that's something that even like Bolo said when he's transferring to TSM. The mindset that you have when going into ranked versus collegiate tournament is completely different, and especially now it kind of comes back to bite me in the ass whenever I'm transferring into rank, just because you have so many differences. Like whenever you're playing in a collegiate league, everyone at least semi respects each other. They understand that hey, we're in this to not necessarily go as toxic as we can, but try to beat the shit out of one another. Um, I think as far as it goes, transitioning, I've had to play a bit farther back, not as much rushing as I want to, or as much aggression, just because it's not all about going for that frag and the at least in Eustace's direction, we usually just want to play the objective. That's the easier way of winning as far as it goes for defenders or attackers. But I think I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being able to play versus some people who may not be better at aiming than me or may be bigger brain than me, but I think it's always nice to get shit on a few times just that way you can learn, oh, hey, there's a new angle there. Because that's where a lot of Siege kind of differs, and that's where people kind of either love it or they hate it. Siege is all about angles. I mean, the tiniest pixel can fucking kill you in games, and so
Mm-hmm.
many people get angry at that. But I sometimes enjoy it. I sometimes enjoy whenever somebody's holding a pixel and you just take their head clean off. Like, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that is it's enjoyable. And especially in the collegiate leagues, you'll see that a lot. A lot of people just holding dumbass angles, or a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people just playing areas where they technically have the advantage and being able, not that you should always do it, but being able to swing on them whenever you'll win
Mm-hmm.
it is always enjoyable.
Yeah, and
Um,
I know like the type of pro play we play is completely different than obviously what you'll see in like the invitational or any like pro league like high level rainbow. When it comes to the respect and a lot of the times the respect for the game, and I think you see this obviously in every sport. If you watch like a D1 basketball team college, they're playing basketball because it got them there. They're not really playing basketball to win or to like develop. Compared to you watching fucking LeBron on the Lakers, everybody there is playing to win and develop and learn and like all these different aspects about actually playing the game compared to just being there because you can. Um, Obviously the leagues we play, they're free. I mean we can play in some like pay in tournaments and pay in leagues and stuff like that, but all the free leagues are going to be the one person in the esports club is like, hey, let's start a Rainbow Six team. You get a whole plethora of different types of players. You get that one rank star that absolutely hates everybody except himself. And then you get that one, person that's been watching Pro League and kind of knows what it has to win. And then you have this person that's good at the game. And it's just a mix of personalities. And one thing about the Collegiate Rainbow League and just Collegiate Rainbow in general is that there's varying amounts of respect. Like if you play a college that has a lot of experience in esports, there's going to be more respect. It's an actual club, it's an actual organization you're joining and representing compared to like, a smaller college, even like us. Like we're a smaller college compared to some of the huge ones. Like if we really wanted to, we could be the disrespectful team, but we're trying to build some sort of a, professional legacy here. And yeah, it definitely leads to different play styles. If you don't respect, the game and respect people you're playing against, it's just going to make the game way more difficult to play and enjoy, really. And that's why a lot of people just don't even bother. So
yeah,
yeah.
I do feel like the community plays a big
Mhm.
role in actually players coming in and stuff like that, especially not only the gaming community in general, but like the smaller communities that you were talking about, how you do have the asshole players and well, asshole might be too much of a stretch. The BM players would be a
Mhm.
better word for it, who are just there to spawn peek the absolute shit out of you, get you angry, and tilt you off
Yeah.
basically until you can't function anymore. And we've seen that happen in some of the games that we've played, where even if they're not intentionally doing it, if they're just doing it to
To win.
make a joke, it can sometimes just really bite you in the ass.
Definitely.
I know that some players, depending on how they get tilted, can either play better or worse. Kind of just depends how it works.
Mhm.
I've played with some people where they'd get tilted and then just go off, and then others where they'd get tilted and then just
They shut
dig
down.
themselves. Yeah, they
Mhm.
basically bury themselves. But it just depends.
Yeah. I think with like a
Yeah.
team aspect that we're in, it's just kind of like figuring out how we can like quote like it sounds like an asshole to say this, but like figuring out how to manage someone and that kind of pressure, if someone doesn't respond to this type of criticism, you know, being able to figure out what they do respond well to or what they don't is kind of that's the difficult part of all this. And sometimes you can work with somebody, sometimes you can't, and you just got to take it for at face value, and you pretty much just do what you got to do. Pretty much, obviously the goal is to win, and sometimes people just don't have it in them to, conform to the winning mentality, which sucks, but got to do what you got to do to stay in the game. Which brings us to our last topic here. Pretty much not really a topic, it's just a question. But who inspires you to become a better player when it comes to your mechanics, or even as like a leader or a person in general? Who inspires you to be a better version of yourself?
I think legitimately at this point, it's more so of a competitive nature whenever it comes to like people that I've met, and that's just something that I have ingrained in me, and I've always made jokes about it. But I don't really like to be, you know, I already said it before at the beginning of this. Like, I don't like to be shit at video games.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it just comes from the people that I play with. If I see like oh, somebody's getting better than me, I try to practice a bit more. I try to fix any issues that I see. I think a good example of this would be on the F-17 that we played against.
Mm-hmm.
Immortal, as he was called on the opposing team. He's grown a lot, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I would shit talk him all the
Mm-hmm.
time. But I would also try to help wherever I could, explaining areas where he'd fucked up, because we like to joke about it a lot that he's extremely small brain. He
Mm-hmm.
swings everything. He takes gunfights that he shouldn't, and he comes out on top. And I think that aggressive mentality really helps him in the long run. And seeing that, and especially seeing a lot of how he plays, while it can sometimes just be absolutely fucking brain dead, it also makes me want to get better and kind of adapt to that play style.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that the first game that we played against him on a clubhouse, after I got absolutely shit on from an angle, and I complimented him after. I literally got shoulder peeked. It was a
Mm-hmm.
nice angle that he got on me. Um, After that, I kind of just thought, well, it's not really an idiot, but I know I was going to be playing this for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the game. And after that, it kind of helped me get better. I think stuff like that in the long run kind of pushes me. And I mean, sure, you see pro players like let's see, I mean, Godly Noob, Godly,
Mm-hmm.
Bolo, let's see, Shaiko and stuff like that. You see these insane aimers, but a lot of people who like really don't get a whole lot of credit, and aren't really in the limelight, are the IGLs, the support players who play on their team
Mm-hmm.
and actually put in the hours of work to learn new strats and stuff like that. And I think that's where I've been trying to improve. So those are a few areas at least where I get, you can say, inspired or find the drive to go out and improve.
Mm-hmm.
But most of it just kind of comes from a competitive nature.
Definitely. Obviously, you don't want to sound. It's kind of being an asshole saying this, but you don't want to look down if you want to try to get up. You don't want to like find the shittiest Rainbow Six player ever and then watch his videos. I mean, depending on what they're good at and stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes to the competitive nature of stuff like that, I kind of like. Obviously, I play the support role on a fucking team, so I look towards like the support roles, the better ones. I like watching like Foltz, even though he's not really that bad at the game, but he's pretty fucking insane. But Foltz and all of the other guys except for literally Canadian and like Bosco, stuff like that. Foltz and Thinking Nade. I watch them a lot of the times just to try to see how they like keep it cool inside the site while shit's going down. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely a great conversation with you, Leon. You're definitely one of the more interesting people to talk about when it comes to gaming, computers, and shit like that. And I appreciate you for taking the time to come onto the podcast. I know it's kind of weird, the shittiest person on your teammate asking you to do a podcast. It's kind of weird, but I just think you're one of the more interesting people that I've talked to in the past years. So definitely want to have one of you, obviously have you on.
Yeah, it was fun to come on. It's fun to share thoughts. Yeah, good to go over things at least.
Yeah.
One-on-one basis, get stuff up in the air. It's nice.
Obviously, yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate that. You guys are coming here and watching this podcast. Obviously, Leon doesn't have that many social medias, but I will definitely link all of his that he actually uses down in the description, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and stuff like that. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
I didn't actually watch Saucy's, so it's just like
It's not.
I
Much
knew
better.
he was in one, and it was just like, the fuck.
It's okay. Shout out Saucy.